So this weekend, Jeff Bezos, lucky man, got married, spent $50 million bringing a host of A-listers from around the world to the happy weekend in Venice. It was an extraordinary reminder of the absurdity of affluence that is now the hallmark of this new world. Let's remember, this year was the year that Rolls Royce bespoke division just hit record sales. That's the bit of the company that can put a gold statue in your cabin or make the roof the same stars as the night that you proposed to your wife, or it can make sure that the paint job on the car matches your private jet. We also saw private jet sales grow by about 14% this year, and of course the luxury yacht market is now growing at between 8 to 10% a year. But this absurdity of affluence, it's not just confined to somewhere else, it's something that divides our country here as well. We could go to Aragala, the steakhouse in Mayfair, and buy a steak for over £700. Yet this is a country where we're now issuing food parcels to those without enough food every 11 seconds. You could perhaps, if you were lucky enough, book a night in the Raffles Hotel. That would cost you £25,000. Yet there are 354,000 people in this country who are registered homeless, and 4 in 10 working households cannot afford the average house where they live. This is a country where 2 million people are sweating away on the minimum wage, but the average pay for a FTSE 100 chief executive has this year hit £4.2 million. These are not the signs of a healthy society. These are signs of a marketplace that is rigged against ordinary people. And let's just have a think about how some of that happened. Think about how we bailed the bankers out after the financial crash. Think about the way in which utility companies are putting your bills up and up and up, but just one set of utilities, the water companies, have already paid out over £70 billion in dividends to their shareholders. Think about the way that big companies like Amazon don't actually allow trade unions to organise inside their warehouses, or think about the way that Every treats their couriers, for example. Think about the way that our supermarkets operate this two-tier pricing system so that prices in convenience stores, often located in the poorest communities, are often more expensive. And then think about all of the loopholes in our tax system. UK residents are estimated to put £570 billion in offshore tax havens. All of these things together help explain how the last 15 years have been very good years for those at the very top of society. In fact, figures from the World Inequality database show that the top 1% in our country grew their wealth by about £1.5 million on average over the last 15 years. That's 31 times more than the average wealth increase of everybody else, the other 99% of people in society. So that's why I would say that we need to make some big steps in rebalancing our economy. And we are about to have in our country quite a big debate about tax. And so when you think about the way that our marketplace has been working for those at the very top, when you think about the way that those at the very top have been able to multiply their riches far more than everybody else, I hope you'll agree that there is a case to look at making sure that we are now restoring fairness to our tax system. It's one of the big arguments that I put in my book, The Inequality of Wealth. And in the next couple of videos, we're going to go through 2 of the big ideas that are knocking around for actually making our tax system fairer. First, there is the idea of a net wealth tax. That would be a 1 to 2% tax on the net wealth of everybody who is lucky enough to have a fortune of over £10 million. That's about 22,000 people. There are lots of issues with a wealth tax, but it is an idea where lots of the details have actually now been figured out. It may take us time to get all of the information together to implement something like a national wealth tax, but in the meantime, there are 4 or 5 big steps that we could be taking as a country to restore fairness to the tax system. And in the next video, we're going to have a look at exactly what some of those steps might be. Remember, if we bring more tax in, there are then choices about what you do with that money. You could make sure that lower earners get a tax break. Many people at the moment feel that their council tax bills, their food bills, their energy bills are all rising much, much faster than their wages. That's especially true for those who earn the least in our society. But there are other things that you could do with the money too. So in my book, I argue that we could be putting the money into something like a national wealth fund, and we could be building that fund up in such a way that it would allow us to pay a one-off dividend of about £10,000 to every 25-year-old in the country, so that they would actually have the deposit to put down on a home to call their own. It's an idea that would help us rebuild what I call the wealth-owning democracy. That's an idea that was once popular on left and right, but right now it seems to have got lost. So if these are videos that you would like to stay in touch with, then please just make sure that you subscribe. And I'd love to know what you think about some of the arguments at play here. So just leave us your thoughts in the comment. See you in the next video.